Hi, and welcome to the Timeless Share. This week we're going to be taking a short break of going through the Bible one chapter at a time, and we're each going to be giving our own testimony. So, I was born into a Christian family, going to church 9 months before I was born. As soon as I was born, my parents were telling me about God and about His love, and singing Christian songs to me and reading Bible stories to me. And I was brought up knowing who Jesus is. But of course, until I was around 5, I didn't understand what it really meant to sin and what it meant for God to save me from that sin. And so there were many times that I said, "Mama, I want to be saved," or "Dad, I want to be saved." And they would say, "Well, what is sin?" And I would tell them some kind of off-the-wall answer because I just didn't understand. And, if you don't know what sin is, then you don't know what you're being saved from. So it doesn't really work. They kept trying to help me understand that. And one day, we did our daily Bible study as a family on David and Goliath. Somehow that story made it click. And I gave my life to God on that day. And I went to the church and I was like, "Pastor, I got to get baptized." I was excited to get baptized. I was excited of what God had done in my life. And I was excited that the fear of dying and going to hell was gone because I knew where I was going to be. And then when I was 7, I saw this guy surrender to the ministry. And I said, "Dad, what did he just do?" And Dad said, "Well, he just made it public that he was going to go into full-time ministry." And God said, "Hey, Joseph, that's what you're going to do." And so I knew when I was 7 years old that God was planning for me to go into the ministry. But I didn't really know anything else besides that about it. I didn't know what it meant to surrender to the ministry. I just kept trying to live my life for God. And I gave some people some pretty bad advice along the way. But I continued growing in my faith and in my relationship with God. And in 2015, in May, one of the girls who was a couple years younger than me in my children's group died in a car accident. And it sent me into depression because I didn't really know her real well, but I did know the family. And I just thought the world of the family. And watching them grieve really grieved me. And I didn't know how to turn it off because I had never been through anything like that before. And I was working with the interim pastor, I think is what his title was. And we were talking a lot. And he helped me understand what it meant to surrender to the ministry. And so I surrendered to the ministry. And when I did, this huge weight was lifted off my shoulder because, well, it took me a couple months after I understood what it meant to surrender to the ministry. And God said, "Okay, now's the time to surrender to the ministry." I was like, "Yeah, but I still don't really know that a 13-year-old guy is supposed to be saying, I'm going to devote my life to full-time ministry." And he would say, "Yeah, you are, because I said you are." And I would say, "Yeah, but I'll just wait a little bit longer." And eventually, he finally said, "Joseph, I've got a plan for you. Go." And so I did. I got up and I went, and this huge burden was lifted off my shoulders. But I still had depression. Backing up to May 5th, 2015, when the girl died, I had said the words, "I will never drive a vehicle." So it's kind of ironic that I had become a very greedy and very prideful person. The greed was that I wanted cars. I wanted to have fast cars. I wanted to have trucks. I wanted to have cool looking cars. I wanted to have all the cars. And the pride was because I was going to get those cars. I mean, there wasn't really a plan, but I was going to be rich and I was going to have all those cars. I don't really know. Anyway, it took all the way until my junior year in high school before God finally brought it out in me. dude, you got to get rid of that pride and greed. It's eating you alive. And so I gave my pride and my greed to God, and he immediately took the depression away from me. And I mean, like, all of it. I have not struggled with depression since that day, since that moment. I mean, I could go to the camp that I was at, point in the parking lot exactly to where I was kneeling, and say, this is where God took the depression away from me. And so I continued on. Right now, I'm looking to go to college for a business degree and a seminary degree. I'm trying to do whatever work I can do for God whenever I can. I'm working on my prayer life. I'm working on telling people the gospel and showing people love, even like in 5-minute encounters. If I know that I'm never going to see them again, I still want to show them the love of God and tell them the gospel, because every single person that I ever meet, their soul is eternal, either eternally going to be with God or eternally going to be separated from God. And I want everybody to have the opportunity to turn away from their sin and self and turn to God. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I know that unless the rapture happens or I die, God's got huge plans for me, and he's going to keep working in me, and he's going to help me to grow closer to him and to mature more. And, you know, as long as I'm alive, there's always going to be more maturing for me to do. But that's my testimony. And I hope that you can relate to it, or you can learn from it, or maybe God will speak to you through that, because God saving me is powerful. I was only 5 years old, but I had sinned too. I mean, I wasn't perfect. And yet, this Jesus, God's Son, from 2,000 years before I was born, was willing to die for my sins. So if you've not been saved, then that's really a really cool story about God, and it's completely true. And it's amazing how much he loves us. So I really want to invite you to go check out the link that's under this video and see just how much God has done for you. And if you are saved, then tell your testimony. You can put it in the comments. You can tell the next person you see. I don't know. Just tell somebody your testimony, because your testimony is powerful. God saved your life. That is powerful. No matter what the story you have, no matter how you feel like it's just another testimony, it is powerful. Thank you for watching the Timeless Share. I hope that this video has meant something to you and has helped you and encouraged you in your walk with God.